Hello! So this video is titled What Came Before? I basically wanted to talk about what my life was like before coming out. And this might be a little bit longer than some of the videos, but I think it's important to understand where I'm coming from and what things and what decisions led to me coming out, essentially. So I came out in 2019, like into New Year 2019, to my wife at the time. After many years of confusion and I guess just like inner battles. I was 2019. I would have been 38 at the time. We had been married for just over 10 years. We had two children. I have two children. And I had spent a lot of my years, a lot of my adult life, like quite depressed, I think, quite at conflict with who I was. Sorry, I got a bit of a cold. I was over masculinizing quite a lot, and it was because I didn't feel like comfortable in my body. I didn't feel like I was ever good enough, or I didn't feel like I was right, if that makes sense. I mean, a lot of people might still say that, but it is what it is. I got quite big, like muscular at one point, put on a bit of weight at another point. I had a shaved head, a massive beard, started getting lots of tattoos, and I love tattoos, so that's cool. And I would wear like hoodies and baseball caps and baggy jeans. I was quite intimidating in a way, like visually. I wasn't an intimidating person on the whole, but I created this character of myself that hid the trauma that was inside, I guess. I often get asked, like, what are my earliest thoughts of being trans, or knowing that I'm not aligned with who I am physically, or who I was physically. And I think, like, my memory is not great anyway, you gotta bear with me with this one. But my earliest memory, from what I know, is probably around 7, 8, and really getting quite upset that I couldn't play with like dolls and My Little Ponies. I mean, I had a Care Bear, I had a lot of soft toys, and they would be my go-to really to play with. I did like Lego, I like building and being creative and stuff, and I love drawing, but I didn't have the toys that I wanted to play with. And I made do, you know. I still enjoy playing with toys, and you shouldn't maybe generalize, but for me, seeing the girls playing with the dolls and things, I kind of was intrigued by that. Whereas a lot of other boys my age were like, oh, I want to play with trucks and bikes and whatever else. Like I was like, okay, why can't I play with that as well? But it never happened. When I hit puberty, I had another memory where I was really upset, crying in the garden, sat by my mum, because everything physically was changing. And everyone goes through it, and that's what I was told, it's just part of life. But I think for a trans person, and maybe especially a trans woman, I'm not sure, I can only speak from my own experience, but it's quite traumatic when some of those physical changes start happening. So your voice gets deeper, your feet and your hands get bigger, your shoulders broaden. Like a lot of the masculinizing features were coming through, and I really didn't feel like it fitted with who I was. And I couldn't explain it. I didn't have the language. I didn't have the language for many, many years, and that's probably why, excuse me, that's probably why I kept everything in, excuse me, and didn't understand exactly who I was. Um, it was only when I returned to university as a mature student at age 36, 37, 36, 37-ish, and I had a bit more time to really look into some of the feelings, and YouTube was bigger and there was a lot more information online, which I didn't have growing up, and I really started to break it down, and it kept coming back with trans and kept coming back with this and that, and my ex-wife would send me, do this test, see if you're this and see if you're that, almost jokingly. I don't think the penny had quite dropped back then, but it was always, oh, you're trans, you're trans. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos from trans people, and it really resonated with me. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, this is what I am, this is who I am. And then I locked it away. I locked it away for about a year. I got really depressed. I started, I shaved my beard, I waxed my chest, which was a horrendous experience. I did a few other things, fancy dress parties. I would always be trying to dress up as a female character. There was many, many, many things like that. And it got to the point where I was like, I gotta say something. I gotta come out to my wife at the time. And I thought, I've read a lot of stories about how when people come out as trans, they lose their friends, they lose their family, they lose their jobs, their house, their cars, all these things. And it terrified me. But what terrified me more was the fact that I now knew who I was, and I could not live my life as a lie anymore. I couldn't just be what I guess I was just expected to be, just the husband, the father, the family man, all of these things. It wasn't who I am. And I thought it's going to get to the point where I do something silly to myself if I don't act now. And so I did. And I came out, and things were ropey at first. They worked out okay after a little while. And then a few years later, obviously we've separated, which is fine. But yeah, I think if you're going through the process of self-discovery as a trans person, give yourself time. Speak to whoever you can. Speak to whoever you can trust, whether it's a partner, a family member, a friend, or even just reaching out to a society or organisation that can offer you some kind of advice or support, because going through it alone can be really traumatic, seriously detrimental to your health and your well-being, your mental well-being. But if it is really who you are, don't keep it inside. Because I see so many adults now who have these internal conflicts with their sexuality or their gender or their beliefs, and they feel like because society or their family or whatever, it won't accept it, they can't come out, or they can't talk about these things, or it just makes them a darker person. It creates a hole within you, and you need to fill that up with love and respect and understanding. It's a bit deep. But I have my tea, so I hope that's a nice little insight into where I was before I came out. And trust me, there's plenty more to come. So I will see you Ciao for now.